Welcome to the Mando Fan Show. This is episode 3 that we're calling The Mandalorians, plural. And you probably already know why, and we'll get to that in just a second. But thanks for joining us. I'm John, James and Lacey with me as always, and we have a special guest joining us today from the Geeky Bubble podcast. It is Jonah Marie Macias. How are you,
Hi.
Jonah Marie?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? Thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah, we're so excited.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, so yeah, it's funny. You and I have never interacted before. I know you and Lacey probably have, and maybe James on Twitter or something like that. But it's so good to finally have you in our little resistance base here to talk about The Mandalorian. And based on your reactions that we saw, because you saw it, I guess for our audience, you saw it before us at a fan event, right?
Yes, I did. I saw it at a New York City fan event, and they were screening episodes 1, 2, and 3, as well as the live stream, which was pretty neat to see in a movie theater. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
that was quite the experience.
Wow.
Now, since you saw it on a big screen, did it feel like you were watching a Star Wars movie, or did it still feel different?
It felt like I was watching a Star Wars movie. Sadly, they didn't have it formatted as a movie. It just went from intro, episode credits, intro, episode credits.
Okay.
So they weren't formatted like the Star Wars The Clone Wars episodes would be in a movie form. But yeah, it was still very cinematic and gorgeous on the big screen.
That's awesome. Oh, and also you don't want to cut out those end credits. They're pretty cool to listen to.
Oh,
and
I
watch the art.
know. Yeah.
So, yeah. Because it's funny, like when you see the 37 minutes and then the show ends at like 33 minutes, and you're like, well, I can just chill now and watch the concept art and all that stuff and listen to the music. But okay, so what we're gonna do first, this is about Chapter 3, the Sin of the Mandalorian. We're going to first get into a quick poll. Now, Carl Weathers had revealed that Baby Yoda, or Tiny as we call him on the show here for This Is Not Yoda, has a name. So there is a name eventually coming down the line. But we said until we find out, we want to make sure you guys were cool with us calling him Tiny, because sometimes if you don't like something and we keep saying it, it might get annoying. So, but it turned out 83% of our viewers did like the name Tiny. So we're going to stick with that for now as we move forward here until we find out his name's like Steve or something. Like, I don't know. Who knows what his name is. But all right, so
Yiddle.
now, yeah, right, Yiddle, Yodel, Yaddle.
I'd love for
There
it to
Yaddle.
get like a Mandoa name or something. Like if they introduce Mandoa into the show, give him a cute little Mandoa name.
Yeah.
That would be cool for sure. Or get him little armor too and everything.
Oh yes, perfect.
Little armor.
Yeah, with the ears stick out the sides. Okay, so what we usually do here is rate the episode. Each of us give a 0 to 10 rating using Pedro Pascal faces, because we feel like we might not see his actual face in the show, so we show it here thanks to Lacey's excellent graphic works right on the screen. And if you're listening on audio, just picture a bunch of Pedro Pascal faces lined up here. So I'm going to run through our scores here. Well, actually, let's just go through one at a time. I gave this episode an 8.5 Pedro faces out of 10. That's currently my highest score. I had an 8 for the first episode, 7.5 for the second, and I'm bumping back up to an 8.5 on that. Jonah Marie, what did you give this episode?
I gave it 9 beautiful faces.
They are
Pedro
pretty beautiful.
Pascal. Beautiful faces.
Would you say this was your favorite so far?
Yes. Yeah, definitely
Okay.
my favorite.
Okay, so you haven't given any 10s out yet.
No, I have not given out a 10.
Okay. All right, great. Now, James, you have typically been on the lower scale for us so far. What'd you give this episode?
I give it an 8, and if you look at our scores, John, we're like 0.5 away from
we
each other.
always
We're
are.
like here, and here.
Yeah,
you know,
we've been consistent.
So I actually feel like I picked a good number for that first episode, which is, right between 5 and 10, 7.5, and then I've been able to kind of bounce around.
Yeah, definitely.
But this
Okay.
one was my favorite so far.
I agree. And Lacey, what did you topping the charts here? What'd you give
the
this
face
episode?
I made when James just said that is because he's like, well, I was pretty smart about it and gave it a reasonable score. Meanwhile,
Right.
I'm over here like, the first episode is a 9, and then now I'm
Yeah.
stuck between
stuck.
9 and 10.
Right.
Because I'm like,
Yeah, I actually wasn't even thinking about you, Lacey. I was thinking about John being the same as me, but a little bit higher. I
Right.
totally forgot.
A little bit.
no
You were,
worries.
like, on the
That's why
way
my
higher.
face was like, oh no. Because we haven't even met Kara yet. So I gave it a 9.5 because it was better than the first episode, but I'm like,
9.5 out of 10 in Lacey. You know what's out of 10? No breathing
Lacey's out
room.
of 12.
I really like this show.
Lacey wants to get on the back of the Blu-ray cover. That's what she wants to do. Yeah. Okay.
Even John Favreau's like, really? A 9.5?
It's like a 9.5.
And it'd just be
okay.
like heads of Pedro Pascal with Lacey
Yeah.
under Lacey's name underneath.
That's it. Yeah. Her face underneath it, like pointing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I love it. Perfect. All right. So using my mental math skills, I'm gonna say that averaged us out to an 8.75 for the four of us on our rating out of 10, which is a great score. So obviously this episode, it sounds like, might be all of our favorites, and we'll get into why in a minute. We also allowed our patrons to throw in their scores into the mix, and then we gave an average out of theirs. So Lacey, what did our patrons give it? Were they above us or below us? Where they rank in here?
Yeah, they were above us, and there were actually a lot of 10s and higher than 10, even though we gave a ranking of 1 to 10. So for all the people that gave me a 12, I just gave you a 10.
12s. Oh.
Anyway, that being said, the score was a 9.34.
Oh my gosh.
Most impressive.
Most impressive.
So
you
I'm
guys
more
are crazy.
reasonable than some of the patrons because they were
Right.
given 12s and 10s and 11s.
Which one of you out there are giving 12s? Knock it off. Jeez.
Who was
12.
the one guy's like, it was a little dark in this corner, but other than that, everything was perfect.
Right. Unbelievable. Okay, well, 9.34. Not much wiggle room there for you guys, but I love the positivity. and it sounds
Welcome.
like you guys
Welcome
love
to
it,
the
so-
No Wiggle Room Club.
Right. All right. Now, remember, if you want to be featured on the show, just tweet about The Mandalorian next week for Chapter 4, next Friday, using the hashtag MandoFando, and we'll pick some tweets and get you read on the show here, just like this person did. So Brian Bugler at Hounds_Tooth99 said, my favorite episode so far, so I'm noticing a theme here, 9 Pedro Pascal faces, oh man, that thing holding the stuff, and disintegrations win. Hashtag poof. That thing holding the stuff. Oh,
The
oh yeah, we'll get to that in a
ice
minute.
cream.
That sounds like one of your things, James. He's got the thing and he's going
Yeah.
to the stuff. Yeah.
He's going to the place.
All right, he's going to the place. All right,
that
so
thing.
also, if you're not on Twitter, if you're a patron of ours, you can also find your way into the episode by leaving a comment. And this guy did. His name is Neil Shaw. How are you, Neil? Neil said,
Hey.
oh, again, 9.5. Amazing Pedro faces. Amazing Pedro faces. Chapter 3 is truly a masterpiece. The length of the episode never crossed my mind for the first time because of all the goodness. Very good. Okay. All right. Now we're going to hop into our Easter eggs in a second, but I have a new thing I'm going to announce here for you guys. We're calling it the Mando Code, and we're starting a giveaway contest. Each week we're going to reveal one number until the last episode, so 6 numbers in total. Now, when we reveal the final number, we will give instructions on what you can do to enter to win the bounty. Until then, just be sure to collect all the numbers each week as we go and await further instructions. Your mission starts now, and this week's number is 8. Number 8. So maybe keep that somewhere, write it on your hand. If you're a person who showers, put it somewhere else. And then you collect along as we go. We don't know what the bounty is yet. I got to be honest with you. I'm kind of like breaking the mystique here. We haven't figured that out yet. But it's going to be awesome. So make sure you jot down all these numbers. And then by the end, one of you will win. And you'll find out how at the end of the show. series. Okay, now guys, it's time to get into Easter eggs and references. Context really isn't important here, just things that may have we've seen objects in previous Star Wars shows or movies, or a reference to something, a callback, that sort of thing. And what we'll do is we'll just kind of pass the baton around here and go around listing one by one until we start running out. So since you are a guest, Jonah Marie, why don't you start us off with an Easter egg you spotted in The Sin?
Right. So last week I didn't notice this one, but the vibroblade that the Mandalorian used against the other Mandalorian, I was flipping out. I thought that was the coolest.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. And there's going to be probably more of that type of stuff popping up as more Mandos show their faces in the show going forward, hopefully anyway. Okay. James, what do you got?
Let's see here. Well, you guys were trying to get this one out of the way, the ice cream machine?
Get it out of the way.
Get it
out of the way.
Yeah.
So
the ice cream machine, obviously, the Wilro Hood thing, they brought it back. We knew it was happening because of the Instagram post way back when from Jon Favreau.
Right.
Lacey, we were talking before this. You mentioned that you didn't know the name of it. I didn't either. It's called a Camtono. And what's interesting about that is that Carl Weathers in this episode says, get yourself a Camtona of spice, and by the time you hit hyperdrive, you'll have forgotten all about it. So it's a second reference to the ice cream.
Wow, so it's a multi-purpose, just kind of like carrier stuff.
I just found it interesting.
Yeah, it's just carry anything.
Because now Empire Strikes Back, it makes sense why the guy's holding on to it and running around with it. Because you're like, oh, well, it's got to be carrying something valuable. Which before we were like,
drugs.
he just
Drugs.
carrying something.
Yeah. It made me think of Hook at the end when like everything's going haywire and Smee's just like smuggling all the gold and stuff. Like Wilro Hood's just like grabbing everything he can get and get out of there. Yeah. Or like someone on the Titanic grabbing their jewelry and then leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Lacey, what do you got?
The round black torture droid that they brought into the room with Vader and Leia in A New Hope is what they brought into the room with Tiny. And I was like, no, because you see the huge needle. Oh, gosh. I thought that was going to go to a place I didn't want it to go.
The mind probe.
Yes.
Yes. That's true. If I saw that thing go anywhere near his head, I may have had to like fast forward or something.
Burn it to the ground.
Yeah, just boycott the Mandalorian forever. Okay, mind probe. That's a good one. All right, so what I had crossed off a bunch, so now you guys took mine. Okay. I think I saw a Dathomirian in the bar that Grief Karga was in with. I don't know if that's an Easter egg, but it's the first time I'm seeing a live action version of Maul's species. And I think they were one of the Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Darth Maul's Zabrak. He's from Dathomir.
Oh, because I Googled Maul species and it said Dathomirian on my Google search. So
yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't really know exactly the true thing there, but I know he's Zabrak. And if you Google Dathomirian as well, you also see the Night Sisters, but they're kind of Night Sisters. So.
And I don't even know if that's an Easter egg or if it's just like, oh, that guy was there. But that's my...
Yeah.
You guys took my better picks, so that was mine. All right. Jonah Marie, do you have another one?
Yeah, when the Mandalorian referred to the baby as his enemy because of the fact that, you know, Jedi and the Mandalorians have had a crazy history together.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't put that together, but yeah, that's right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point because he kind of like randomly threw that out there, and I was like, whoa. But yeah, that's a good call. All right. Yours are deep. Good deep cuts. I like it.
I told you. This is why I'm so pumped she's on here.
No, I love this. This is good. Okay, I didn't have that one listed, so that's good. James, what do you got?
Okay, so I picked this one up from our buddy the President. He mentioned that the Mandalorian parents are wearing Life Day robes. I don't know if that's exactly true or not, but it's a good point. It's a good reference. Because they do look exactly like what that Wookiee is wearing at the end of the holiday special.
Right.
Yeah, well, wasn't that Chewbacca?
Is it Chewbacca? I
think-
don't know if...
Yeah, it
I
was.
think
Did
it
he
is.
make it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
The whole point was that he wasn't going to make it.
No, that's a good one. I didn't put that together. Okay, Life Day and more again with the holiday special references with Jon Favreau. He wasn't kidding about that. Lacey,
Right.
do you have another one?
Yeah, so when he's walking down the street in the beginning with Tiny, there is what's called a Katirin, which is those laughing lizard guys from Canto Bight on the front of the book. And they're also seen in Resistance. He's off to the side laughing, and that's what caught my attention because I was like, those guys are just constantly laughing.
Oh man, I see. I gotta watch.
Also
again. That's a
seen
good
in
one.
Resistance, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
What species?
Katirin, Keteerian.
Katerian or something like that.
I had to
Okay.
look it up, but I knew like by facial what it was because
That's
I remember the Canto Bight
that's
book.
the tricky thing. We've got a lot of aliens, and I think we're not even going to name them all.
Right.
A lot of these little references that pop up.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, my next one. This one, I don't know how I spotted it because I never spot stuff like this. But I swear, when he went in the back for the back entrance to where Werner Herzog's like headquarters was, and all that trash is there, I saw the pole, the same exact model pole that Luke and Leia try to use to keep the trash compactor from closing in on
Yes,
them.
it looks like it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, all right. So I'm not crazy. Okay.
Yeah, I think I remember
No,
seeing some
I
like
have
that.
it written down too, John.
Oh,
And it's
okay,
like
yeah.
across where the cradle is too.
Yes, yeah, it's like leaning, and it has like the same like grips and stuff.
Which is
It's just
funny because it's in the trash.
It's just like a nice little A New Hope Easter egg, which I thought was kind of
Yes,
cool.
yes.
And it serves no purpose. It's not like the carry case thing. It's just there,
Right,
laying there. So I
right.
thought that was kind of cool. All right, Joanna Marie, what do you got?
So my friend Mark Mandalorian on Twitter, he pointed out, and I gotta say it because it was such a good one. But at the shootout at the very end, there was a Mandalorian with Westar 35s, sort of like the same model as Sabine. And I thought, what? I didn't even see that. That's amazing. And I thought, I
my
gotta bring it up
God.
on the show and mention him.
That's
That-
cool.
see,
Yeah, that's good.
That's like another level. Like I would never. I'm not good with weapons though, but that's like Joanna Marie. Are you usually good with the weapons, identifying them
Oh,
and
no.
stuff?
No.
Yeah. It's like, unless it's like Han Solo's blaster or something where you can tell it's the DL-44, I'm just like, I don't know what that is. That's crazy. That's
I'm
that's
the same
impressive.
for ships too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ships. Forget it.
Yeah. And that is a good one. Okay. James, do you have another one?
Yeah, you guys want to talk about Paz Vizsla?
That's been going. Yeah, that was a hot topic.
That's great.
So the character, like the heavy Mandalorian with the machine gun, right? When we first hear his voice, I think everybody goes, it sounds like Jon Favreau. Again, I was reading Anthony Brestigan's article. He says it is Jon Favreau. I don't know if there's total confirmation on that, but it's voiced by him and played by another character, like acted out on screen by another character. But the interesting thing about Jon specifically voicing that character is because he played Pre-Vizsla in the Clone Wars. So is there a connection there? You would think, but the names are spelled differently. So it's very hard to figure out what's going on here.
Were they spelled differently? I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't fact check that. I saw somebody said, but it's spelled differently. Was that you, John, that pointed that out?
No, I would never.
Wow.
No, okay, yeah. I think one has an S, like one is V-I-Z and the other is V-I-S-Z or something.
Oh,
I mean,
interesting.
we could Google right now if we wanted to. We have the technology
To rebuild them.
to rebuild him. Yeah, that is a good one though. I did like when I first heard him talk. I don't know about you guys, but I thought it was Jon Favreau immediately.
Yeah, it sounded like him.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't pick it up at all. I was just
No?
so involved with what they were talking about that I didn't pick out the voice.
Yeah, it didn't sound. It sounded like him. It didn't sound like Rio Durant, which was like 100% Jon Favreau.
Just talking normally.
Yeah, but it's, he had the mask on, so it's probably a little distorted. But that's definitely a good one, and something curious to look for. Kind of like the Vega brothers in the Quentin Tarantino universe. You see the same last name or whatever. If you like Tarantino movies. Lacey, you got another one?
Yeah, I'm gonna say one, but it's kind of a two-parter because it's the same person, so I figured just get it out of the way. When Carl Weathers is talking to the Mandalorian, he's talking about the Republic, and they're like, "Oh, they're useless." Which is like an insight in going into the sequel trilogy that everyone's like, why would we even bother going to them? Like, because Leia says similar things. It's actually about that deleted scene we were talking about on the podcast about how Leia was like, oh, I don't need to go to Hosnian Prime because they don't listen to me, basically.
That comes out next Thursday.
Yeah, spoiler alert. So the other thing he says, Carl Weathers says, is, I'm your only hope.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, how dare you use those words?
He's his Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Okay. Whose turn is it? Mine?
Yours. Yeah.
Okay. So this one is a little interesting. My son is banging on the door, of course. He's like, I have an Easter egg. I have one. So I have a question for you guys on this one. Is that Zuvio? Did they confirm that that's him? The turquoise helmeted
doesn't
guy?
look like
I can't imagine that it's him.
Okay. So maybe there's other guys who he affiliates with that dress like him or like a clan.
Yeah.
But that guy says to the Mandalorian, Ichuta, which is what that protocol droid said to C-3PO in Empire Strikes Back. Which obviously doesn't sound like it's clean language. It's probably some kind of like, you know what?
Swear word. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, I know exactly when that took place. So that's another one there. Okay. Any more, Jonah Marie?
Just Grief Karga saying the Twi'lek, he said, healing baths, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't a good image in my mind.
No. Yeah, I was a little curious what he meant by that. Sounded a little risque to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. I don't have many more left. James, what do you got left?
So there, my notes are bad. So I guess there is a character named Silvasu Fi in the marketplace, and that character is also in well, hold on. It's the same species as a character that shows up in Solo. But they don't have a species name yet. Only that character has a name. The reason I question if it is in fact the character from Solo is because there's also a Rodian that is confirmed to be one of the Cloud Riders.
The yellow guy?
Yes, the yellow Rodian, and that's why I said my notes are bad, because I don't think I wrote that character's name down. But that is confirmed to be the Cloud Rider from Solo, and they blow him up.
Yeah, okay. Wow. Okay.
So there's potentially two of the Cloud Riders, which sort of makes sense. But I can't guarantee the other character is the same one. The outfit's a little bit different, but it's definitely the same species. But that species has only ever shown up once, and they don't even have a name for the species.
That's kind of crazy. Imagine they age up Aaron Kellyman, and we see Emphas Nest roll in.
Yeah.
That would be
So
interesting.
I think that, yeah. I don't know.
All right. Lacey, you got any more?
Yeah, I have a whole bunch, actually.
All right.
So we have the Rey moment where he is talking to Werner Herzog and he's handing over Tiny, and there's a moment where he's like, should I do this? Should I not do that? And there were kind of parallels to Rey being like, the droid's not for sale type thing. But he obviously goes through with it.
Right. Yeah. I was saving that for the discussion. Damn.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
Do you want me to say a couple more? Are we still going?
Give me one more.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you. Give me one more.
Oh, one more? So this is, you're gonna laugh at this one. So this one is a reference that maybe some people get, but not everyone. And I'm sure it's not the actual reference, but this is what I thought of. Was in The Fate and the Furious, there's a whole fight scene with a baby with Jason Statham, and it reminded me of this fight scene because he's holding the baby while fighting people.
Oh, okay.
Vin Diesel's baby. Spoiler alert.
Diesel's baby.
I think I only saw like the first 2 of those movies.
And
Yeah,
he
I
does a
still
lot
gotta
of
watch
like fight
all of
scenes,
it.
and
Same.
then like he'll shoot some guy and then look over and the baby's like, ah, which is like what this baby was like. And I was like, this is the baby fight scene.
I don't think I have any more. I mean, seeing the Mon Cala as one of the bail jumpers, I guess that was kind of
Yep.
cool. But that's it for me. Joanna Marie, do you have any other ones you want to rally off here?
I'm out.
Okay, you're out. James, you got one more for me?
There's a couple other aliens. I saw a little space guy walking around with the space helmet. Did you
Yeah,
see
they
him?
guy.
zoomed in on him. I don't know what that is though.
I think it's because they're trying to say, like, remember the spaceman in Mos Eisley? You know?
Yep.
Because they
Yep.
just have some dude walking around and he just looks like he belongs at NASA.
You're right.
And I think they're trying to bring that back and pay homage there.
Cool.
Also, I saw pointed out that, you know how we talked about the character that has the doctor and he has the clone symbol on the side?
Yeah.
Now, as we have a closer look at his patch, it is surrounded by the Tarkin Initiative logo. So it kind of makes sense that if the Tarkin Initiative was getting involved with like some cloning things, that they would have like tried to, you know, kind of combine those logos. So it sort of makes sense now that having him be tied to the Empire.
So true.
Interesting.
And I think the only other thing that I got here is somebody says "shattered by the Empire." And it reminded me of
Shattered Empire.
Shattered Empire. The comic.
Right.
All right. So I think we're Easter egged out. I think we did a
No,
good
I'm
job
not.
there.
I have more.
All right. Well, give me quickly because we gotta do our discussion here too.
I know. Prequel droid who killed his parents. You didn't talk about
Battle
that. at all.
droid.
Yeah.
Battle droid.
The B2 battle droid.
Someone is eating a salacious crumb. Did anybody see that? Like a chicken
No.
wing. Yeah.
Oh no!
Straight up.
I didn't see him.
And then
eating it.
behind her is a Twi'lek walking. And then
Yeah, I saw the Twilight.
the shot of him where he has the gun out and the gun comes out of the doorway first is like stereotypical James Bond. Like where the gun comes into the room first.
Okay.
That
That's
scene
pretty
with
much
the
it.
Twi'lek too. There's another character, another alien from Canto Bight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, on the cover of the Canto Bight book, one of the short stories is about these 3 aliens that gamble and they
Yeah,
laugh
that's what
and
I
laugh
told
and
you.
party
That
and
was
stuff.
my first one.
Oh,
That was the type of
Okay.
of alien it was.
Oh, right. Okay.
there.
good.
Then there's another one because I thought you were talking about another one. Earlier in the scene, there's an alien from Canto Bight, and it's standing right next to that pink Twi'lek.
Yeah, I think they reused the same character, if I'm going to be honest. I'm sure
It's not the same character. Oh, from maybe Last Jedi.
Right.
Yeah, but those 2 are 2 alien species. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. There's a ton of alien species. We saw
Ton.
a lot.
Right. All right. Let us move on to the discussion here. Just basically open discussion. Just have a chat. First, though, real quick, everyone, just give me what your favorite shot of the episode was, and that could be a few seconds or one single frame. Whatever you feel was your favorite shot in the episode. So, James, why don't you go first and let me know what your favorite shot was from this episode?
It's got to be the shot of that heavy Mandalorian coming down with the railgun. I mean, that sequence of like it's one thing, and I'm sure other people will talk about it, but the Mandalorian's popping up out of the thing. But something about like the War Machine Mandalorian with the railgun, and it's just like that. You're already on a high, and that like pushes it up, and the framework of them talking back and forth of the whole like this is the way,
Right.
thing is just so.
I
the
got
climax of the episode.
I definitely got Iron Man vibes there too. It's funny you said War Machine. Okay, Jonah Marie, do you have a favorite single shot or a moment that stood out to you?
Yeah, so there was that shot at the very end with the Mandalorian flying up against the Razor Crest. And
Oh yeah,
yeah, that shot alone was really cool.
yeah. It was. Yeah, I agree because
The salute, the air salute.
Yeah.
Yes, and he was like, you could see the wind resistance. It wasn't just like he was just cruising perfectly, like the old Superman movie where he was just like this.
Yeah.
He was like, he was up there, like high altitude. That was a great shot, without a doubt.
It reminded
and I'm
me
sure
of Star Wars Rebels a bit with the
Yes.
when Bo-Katan and Ezra were out fighting off those TIE fighters. Yeah.
And I'm
And
sure,
Iron Man again, Rocketeer.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, that kind of vibe. Yeah.
and I'm sure on the big screen it looked really cool too,
Oh, yeah. It was fantastic.
especially for the
Were
first
people
time. You're
just
like, whoa.
cheering?
Oh, yeah. Especially when the Mandalorians showed up because the Mando mercs were there. So they were like, oh my God, yes. That was like their dream come true.
Did they
So awesome.
now the Mandos that were there in the crowd, were they watching with their helmets on?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
They're not supposed to remove their helmets.
I
I know
know.
they're all sitting there like awkwardly,
Yeah.
like, oh.
It's like fogging up. They're like, I can't remove my helmet. Okay. Lacey, favorite single shot from the episode?
The shot where the Mandalorian's down on his luck, he's holding Baby Yoda, he's looking at him, and there's all just chaos around him, and it's like a slow motion push, beautiful shot between him and Tiny. That was my
Nice.
favorite because it's like no matter what, he was like, I have to do the right thing no matter what's going on around me. I loved that.
I agree, and that's like I'm not a Western expert, but the Westerns I've seen, there's been a bunch like True Grit and the kind of thing where the lone guy is taking care of the kid or something, and like they're definitely hitting home with these types of things. And
It also
maybe that's
reminded me of Lord of the Rings because it's like they're watching. I know it's like not a kid, but like the Hobbits, like where you have all these people that are trying to protect Frodo. So it
Right.
reminded me of that, and then they show up at the last minute.
yeah. Okay, I'm glad no one took mine because I thought someone might, but and maybe it's the dad in me. My favorite shot is when he gave him the top of the handle.
That was my second one in case someone took my first one.
Oh, yeah.
Because at first he was like annoyed. He's like, don't touch that. That's not a toy. And then when he gets him back, he's like, you know what? You can have it. And it's funny because, my son will always be like, he'll always want something he's not supposed to have. I'll be like, you can play with everything in this room except this. And he'll want the Roku remote or like, the TV. And James, I'm sure Bennett does the same thing. It's just they know what they aren't supposed to have. And then they go for that. And that's... So I related to that moment. And again, it humanizes the Mandalorian, which, we needed him to be humanized to empathize with him. And if he's not taking his mask off, which he might not, this might be the way they do that using little tiny Yoda here. All right. So overall thoughts on the episode. I think we're all thinking it's our favorite. So Jonah Marie, why don't you start us off with just your overall thoughts on the episode in general?
Yeah, overall thoughts. I thought the episode was fantastic. And as much as I love it, there was a few details about the Mandalorians that really broke my heart because Star Wars Rebels did a great job at picking up some of those storylines from Star Wars The Clone Wars. And with them ending it with Bo-Katan, they kind of gave me some hope. I'm like, yeah, the Mandalorians are going to do this. And then the Mandalorian comes around and the Mandalorians are just in hiding. And it breaks my heart. So as much as I love it, it also it tears me apart.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if they're... Like, what's the state of the planet Mandalore at this time? Do we know? That hasn't really been explored, right? In this era?
It hasn't. No, it hasn't been explored. And I'm curious whether it's just even more ravaged than it already was because of the Beskar mining. And, the Imperials looking for that mineral, that particular mineral might have just destroyed the planet altogether. Who knows? Maybe it looks like a Concord Dawn where it's part of it is just like in pieces. So,
or like JETTA, yeah.
or JETTA, yeah. Like we just don't know both politically or physically what it looks like.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I wonder if they will explore it. I don't know. James, you're huge on Rebels and Clone Wars, so you like more than me, I know. Like, what's your vibe on?
Well, to piggyback off of that, yeah, I think they haven't really told us what this whole Great Purge thing.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, right, that's what they. Yeah,
Yeah. So I think there's something in there where they're trying to kind of set up, like, if this show's good, we could tell more stories about the period of, like, when the Mandalorians look like they were finally starting to get a rhythm back. And then we see them again, and they're, like, down in the dumps. So it's like, well, what happened? You know?
Sure.
Also, too, that the whole thing, I mentioned it earlier, but, like, this is the way. Like, that, I think, was, like, really awesome within the episode. But it did make me question, like, why did we never hear that Rebel? You know what I mean? Or did we? Like, what? I mean, if Sabine, like, was fighting with, she's practicing with the Darksaber against Kanan Jarrus, and she goes, well, we got to do it because this is the way. Nobody would have blinked at that. You know? Who knows? Maybe
true.
a rewatch of Rebels will be like, oh my God! You know?
I think this
like,
is...
there's probably a lot of little things like that.
Yeah. I think this is the way is something, it's a product of the purge, whatever that was, and the fact that they're being forced to live this very extreme lifestyle. And,
I like that.
Yeah, and I think that's just, you know, like the fact that they don't take off their helmets. Like, we saw them take off their helmets in the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. So it's really weird that they're taking on this very hardened way of life because it's meant for them to be stronger. And it actually reminds me of a quote that Ursa Wren said in Star Wars Rebels when she said, perhaps Mandalore needs chaos if it's to become strong once again. And you know, maybe this is their chaos. This is they're living in this chaotic timeline before they can become strong once again.
Wow, that is really good.
Thank you.
This was the episode for you to come on, because if you came on our show for chapter 2, you wouldn't have been dropping all this. So this is like the perfect.
You'd have been like, yeah, that egg looks gross.
Yeah, like that egg.
So how about that Cadbury egg? Yeah. No, I mean, it's I really enjoyed the episode a lot. It was my favorite without a doubt. It felt a little claustrophobic. Like, it was big action, but I felt like I kept wanting to be like, all right, now where are we going from here? And it just kept staying centralized to that little, like, hub, that area. But I mean, that's a bit of a nitpick. You know, again, you know, like I said about the Tiny thing last week, Jonah Marie, I had concerns that Tiny may be stealing the shadow from the Mandalorian a little bit. Yeah. And I joked, I'm like, well, are they gonna, name this show like Baby Yoda now? Because like everyone's talking about him, and they're like, where's the Baby Yoda toys and all this stuff? And it's I don't know. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I don't want anything to happen to him, so it's like, where's the balance? But I know Lacey's obsessed with little tiny 8-pound 6-ounce Baby Yoda. But
sweet Baby Yoda.
Did they showed a scene in the episode today, or episode today, that was in a trailer, but I think they added the Yoda bassinet to the shot. They took it out of the trailer.
Maybe I haven't gone back to watch them. I probably should.
Yeah.
I know they did that for the sunset in last week's episode. Like, he's walking through the sunset, and in the promotional images, it's just him. But in the episode, it's him and the little crib. So
same deal. Yeah. Somebody just went in with like a repair brush, and they're like, just take that little dot out. Yeah. Yep, no problem.
Is the Mando lair on the same planet as Werner Herzog's hideout? I feel like it's like around the block.
Yeah,
like it's in the same area.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, either they do a time lapse or whatever, and they're like, we're not going to do more special effects of him flying to this place, and it feels like he just like walks around the block and he's like, all right, Mando there. He's like, I was just over there.
Yeah, because at the end he says, "Are you sure you want to do this? You're going to expose us and where we are."
Yeah. Okay. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know if that's because they were like,
wait, what is that? He said, who says that?
The Jon Favreau character. He says like, "Are you?" The Mandalorian says to him something along the lines of like, "Are you?" And I'm paraphrasing right now. Are you sure you want to go through with this?
All the armor.
Yeah, and like he goes, "This is the way."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's saying like, "Don't do this because you're going to expose that we're all here," basically.
okay,
But that's not about taking the baby.
We're not talking about taking the baby.
Yeah. Okay. It's about wearing.
Right.
It was about making the armor, right?
No, we're talking about their location.
Yeah, I think it was exposing their location or whatever. That's what I took from it.
Yeah, because I think at one point the heavy infantry Mando, he says something along the lines of that most of them have to stay underground and only one can go up at a time. I didn't really understand that, and that's again, it's just why is this the way?
Right.
Which means that only the Mandalorian has been the one going up and back all the time. And then when he comes in and he sees them all sitting around, no wonder they're staring at him because they're like, here's the one guy that gets to leave.
Yeah. They're like, now we get to draw straws and see who gets to go see sunlight for a little bit.
Right.
I have another question with the, because Mandalorian lore is not my strength here. The whistling birds signet. Is that a weapon? Was that the thing that he killed those stormtroopers with? Is that tied to that?
I think that's new. I don't recall hearing that. I do think that the technology was there before, but the name of it sounds very new to me. And actually someone pointed out that it was very Iron Man.
It was
100%. Yes. Yeah.
Super Iron Man.
Yeah, before we got on, I looked up Whistling Bird on Wikipedia, and it only has one entry as the only appearance.
This was it?
Yes, just chapter 3. Yeah.
Those guys are quick.
Yeah.
There was something else that I was going to say about that. You associate it with the signet, which... This was the whole discussion of like how he killed the mud horn.
Yep.
And they were like, well, then we'll make that your signet. He's like, it was an honorable death. I had help and all this other stuff. I think then they go, well, then what do we want to do with the excess? Well, we'll just make these weapons. I don't think it had anything to do with
the signet itself.
A new signet, like the bird is his new signet or something.
They're just special bullets, basically.
Yeah, I think the bullet just happened to have an animal.
I think maybe I was confused. I thought she said Whistling Bird signet, but maybe I mixed her phrasing up or something. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people, Joan and Maria, I agree, a lot of people got those Iron Man vibes from a lot of the Mandalorian action in this this episode. Okay, so is there anything else you guys want to bring up about this episode in specifics? I mean, one thing I would bring up, I'm surprised we saw Werner Herzog again because I thought he was just cashing out after like a cameo. So I was happy to see him again, actually.
I was actually surprised that he turned Tiny in. Because I've been saying for the past 2 episodes, there's no way he's turning him in. There's no way. And so, as everyone knows, I do this like little live tweet thing with myself so I can make notes while I'm watching. And my notes were, there's no way he's turning him in. Oh, he's turning him in. I hate the Mandalorian. I hate him so much. How could he do this? Like, that was how my notes went. And then I went, oh, he's going back. Oh, okay. He's good now. We're cool. Like, I was just so angry. But yeah, no. And then the whole ending, which I feel like what example am I pulling from? I feel like it was done in Deadpool 2, where he gets shot, but he doesn't really get shot. It goes into some type of metal item that blocks the bullet. I think that happened in Deadpool.
Future?
Back to the Future, Deadpool, wherever. Yeah. It's like they're wearing something.
Yeah.
I thought he was dead.
I
was
thought
like,
he was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, Lacey.
Problem Child.
Like,
Problem
what?
Child. You ever see Problem Child? He had like the lucky prune in his pocket.
No.
Is John Ritter? No one like John Ritter around here? All right,
I
that's
was
fine.
just surprised because I was like, oh, he's dead. And then you see
Yeah.
him kind of being like, oh, and I'm like, oh, he's not dead.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
means
I mean,
that they're just going to get hunted, which
Yeah.
we're
That's
going to get into.
that's a Clint Eastwood thing too. Like
Yes.
he would have the metal plate under his.
He did.
Yeah, his deal.
I said Back to the Future.
Not that Clint Eastwood. The Clint Eastwood that ripped him off.
Back to the Future 2.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's funny
where
you
he
say that,
sees it in the-
John, because I
Biff's.
searched like bullet being stopped by something, and that Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood movie was the
Bulletproof
first thing that
vest!
came up.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing I wanted to bring up, which I want to get your guys' feedback on, because I only saw this once again, the scanner that poor little Tiny was under is. Do you think that's their because it looked like the computer Obi-Wan was looking at when they were totaling the midichlorian count, and I hate to say we're going there again. Do you guys think they were trying to get a measure on his midichlorian count or something?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
Could be it.
I think it's possible.
George
I
Lucas
didn't
is
put
like,
together that it was the same computer, but yeah, that'd be a good double check. Go back and look at that.
I just remember the red screen with like the lines
Black,
going
yeah.
across. It would have been funny if like Dr. Pershing's in there and you just hear like over 20,000.
Yeah, but they show him and he actually says 10,000.
He actually says 10,000, right? Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you guys we didn't really talk about this. Are you guys into midichlorians? I know it's a big thing with George Lucas, and he would have wanted the sequel trilogy to involve them. So, Jonah Marie, are you a prequels fan?
Oh yeah, I love the
Okay.
prequels. Yeah, that's how I got back into Star Wars with the prequels.
Oh, nice.
I
Okay.
mean, I don't mind the concept. I mean, it's everyone here, in our own world. Whenever there's something we don't understand, we try to find a scientific reason for it. We try to study it, understand it,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much what's going on when it comes to the midichlorians. There are people who want to know what scientific thing they can find behind it, and that way they can measure it in some way. And
Right.
it's interesting that the Jedi themselves use it. I guess you could see it as a way of them going down a path of gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Where they kind of diverge from their just trusting the Force kind of
Right,
mentality.
faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Step
I
away
mean,
from
there's
instincts.
it's not necessarily that all of the Jedi use it
That's
either.
true.
I'm
That's
pretty
true.
sure like there are Christian scientists and there's Christians who just rely on faith. It's like there could be definitely Jedi that are like, I don't care about the midichlorian thing. That like there are some Jedi who are into that, and maybe Qui-Gon kind of falls into that camp a little bit. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you have Qui-Gon with his little like portable reader. He's like, I'm checking your midichlorian, and then you have Yoda like, it's in the tree, the rock, your shoulder. It's like I don't think Yoda was a big midichlorian guy, but I don't know.
I didn't get to say it before, but I liked Werner Herzog way more in this episode, and I think his lines to me were like it really weighed on me that like everything he says is perfection. Like every line he has is
Or
an
because-
iconic line.
Because you hadn't heard them before.
Yeah, I don't know who the guy is.
It's a
No, I'm saying all the-
complicated profession.
Oh, because of the trailer.
All his other lines were like celebration, teaser,
Yeah.
No, there's one here where he says, "Unfortunately, finding a Mandalorian in these times is more difficult than finding the steel." I'm like, what? Who says that?
That was a great impression,
I'm
by the
like-
way.
that
What
was pretty
poet
good.
wrote that? You know? Like,
Yeah.
He's also ruthless. It was very
Yeah.
clear that
Yeah.
he was like, mind your own business.
Yeah, he did not like the
Yeah.
Mandalorian questioning it.
Right, and he, correct me if I'm wrong, had no problem if he confirmed termination, right?
And he wanted to terminate
Yeah.
Baby Yoda later. He was like, just kill it.
Yeah, so it's like they're
we got to figure out what's going on with him.
the
and
motives,
the,
yeah.
and the scientist, yeah.
well, he's wearing the Empire logo around his neck, like we talked about last week, I think. This Persian guy claims, unless he was just saying to save his own tush,
Right.
I'm the only thing that could save him, or whatever, So
Right.
is he being forced to do something against his will? This doctor guy. I don't know. It's all very mysterious, and I'm curious what happens. But do we want to speculate on what's going to happen next week?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, are we getting Gina Carano next week, please?
I would hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's desperately needed
I think so,
at this
right?
point. Yeah. Yeah.
Episode 4 is Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh, yes, and we
I
know
think
that
she-
she contributed to that character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
so I
she
think
did.
That's good.
Okay. Now, this is Bryce Dallas Howard's directorial debut, I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
might
thought
be.
she did an
I'm not
independent film.
Oh.
She may have
Oh,
done
I don't
a
know
short
then.
film or something, but
She might have filmed this first. I don't remember.
Yeah, so it'll be curious to see what this is like. Obviously, Favreau's not leaving anyone hanging here. He obviously helped Filoni out and
Sure.
all that. But I'm very curious to see what the style is because I thought Deborah Chow did such a good job on
She
episode
killed it.
3 that it made me excited to see she's doing all of Kenobi.
She has
So-
another episode of The Mandalorian, too.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, she has. Oh, she does.
Yeah.
I think she has
She
one
has two,
more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know who does the last episode of Mandalorian by chance?
I think it's
Taika Waititi. Yeah.
He has the final episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay. IG-11 coming back?
Oh, I have no idea.
Maybe.
I like that character. All right, so Jonah Marie, what do you think may happen next week?
So I'm thinking he has to find a place to lie low. Maybe he knows someone, and that's how he happens upon all these other characters. But it's funny, I also think that where he ends up going, it might be the same place where Giancarlo Esposito is ruling over. So, now that we know that the Mandalorian has a heart, he's not heartless. I like to
Right.
think that maybe he feels compelled to help these people in whatever situation they're in. So, yeah, I don't think
like
that's
that.
all going to go down in episode 4, but my stream of
Okay.
thought, I had to carry it out.
Right.
I like that. I'm going to go to a tweet real quick here. We had at Ion Cannon had said, this episode finally got me feeling the fire for the Mandalorian that so many others feel. I'm relieved to know that Kenobi is in such capable hands. Mando Fando. Sorry I had to get that out there. But a good tweet though, for sure. James, what's happening next week on this show?
I'm scared to say what I think because I read it from like a speculation, on like a discussion of the episode,
Yeah.
and somebody said it, and I'm like, I feel like that has to be it. Like that is so perfect, it almost makes me feel like if that's it, I'm like, dang it, I ruined it for everybody who listened to this episode. But it's just a guess. But I think, if not even specifically in the next episode, I think what they're showing you is the process of what happened in the past when he was a kid, and now he's like closed in. I think that he's going to be rescued by Yoda.
Oh, man. Oh, my
Oh,
gosh.
Wait a minute. Hang on now. him like little kid Mando in the
Little kid Mando loses his parents and then is saved by Yoda the Jedi, and that is why he's so thrown off guard when he sees the baby.
Whoa. I like
Oh
this.
man. Wait, all right, so timeline wise, how old do we think the Mandalorian is?
Oh. 40-ish? 45-ish?
Yeah.
Because he looks like he's
I mean, we
10-ish.
don't really have anything to base it on
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, I would
he's
put
a
him in his
baby
late-
in the Clone Wars.
I would put him in his late 30s, early 40s, probably.
So we're thinking, is that Clone Wars era or like Revenge of the Sith
We
era?
know he was a baby during the Clone Wars era.
Yeah,
Right.
he was like 8 or 9. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks
Okay.
it, yeah.
We're seeing battle droids and other
That's
things.
that's interesting, James. That is very interesting.
I can't take credit for it. I was just browsing through and I was like, that's dumb, that's dumb, that's dumb. That has some merit. And then I saw this one and I was like, dang, that's pretty good.
Oh, so you didn't come up with this? Someone else came up with
No. Yeah, I read it and I felt, I was like,
I thought you just came up with this.
no,
Oh.
I said that when I was like, I'm almost afraid to say it because I feel like that's, so good.
Yeah,
But
that's
we'll
interesting.
see. I don't know.
Okay. Wow. Mine's way lamer. Okay, Lacey, what's happening in Chapter 4 of The Mandalorian?
Well, I came up with these ideas on my own. I didn't cheat.
Oh, snap.
That's not cheating.
Snap.
It's a little cheaty.
No.
So I think that we've been seeing hints and stuff that obviously Carl Weathers is like super mad at him. Obviously, tried to kill him. So he's going to send all these people after him. Oh. And then I think we're going to get, maybe not in this episode, but in the future episodes, I think Ming-Na Wen is going to be the person that's hired by the Empire people to go look for him as like the best of the best that goes looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
But
and Bill Burr too.
Yes, Bill Burr.
Like,
I wrote that down.
In that.
Yep, I wrote the Twi'lek down too. Like those are like they go to this team of people of who's going to go after him. Yeah. And then I agree. I think he's going to end up on this planet that Gina Carano's character's on. And then they're going to bond over someone attacking them, which makes sense if it's Giancarlo Esposito, that they're uniting over that. And then they team up together.
All right. I dig that.
Because they were rolling around in that clip we saw. Like, that's how they get introduced to each other.
So that's where that's my point. That's where I think we're getting into
they run into
here.
each other. Yeah.
I think she has an agenda that she's doing, and he obviously has, he's on retreat, and they're going to clash due to misunderstanding.
Yep. Rolling around.
She's going to think he's there to like kill whoever she's with, and he thinks that she's another bounty hunter after
tracking
Tiny.
Him. Yes.
Yeah. So they're going to start fighting, and then they're going to be like, "Wait, you're that? Oh, okay."
You, me, you.
And then they're going to be like, Psh, "High five." Okay. No, but I think that's.
I'm not from Earth. I'm from Missouri.
Can I toot my own horn here a little bit?
Yeah.
Did I call it?
So I am going to admit that this morning at approximately, I don't know, like 7:30, I sent texts to John being like, "Well, you were completely right as of 6 months ago." He's been saying since day one that Carl Weathers is going to turn on him so fast. And I was like, there's no way. And here we are. And as soon as it happened, I was like, no. No.
And I mean, you can kind of say that the Mandalorian turned on him.
Sure.
Because he broke the code, but he's an adversary now. So
see, but he says at the beginning of the episode, I don't care if they hang it up on their wall or eat it. And I was like, oh no, that is the first sign that this is not going to go well.
He's all business, this guy.
Yes.
Yeah. But I do find it interesting that it looks like it's going to be a situation where there's going to be a bounty out for a bounty hunter, being the Mandalorian now. So that'll be a new twist there. So I think this is where things are now going to start picking up now that we've gone out of the introductions and where some people's motives are, and we understand who the Mandalorian is as a person now. He does have a heart. Now it's where we shift the plot into like the meat, because we're at episode 4 out of 8 now, so we really got to put our foot on the gas.
Right.
So I'm really excited to see where we go from here. There was one more tweet I had to get to that I skipped before. I apologize for the Easter eggs. This is a great one, especially if you're like a George Lucas fan. Doug Brooks at Desert Vol said the gear shift knob is an exact homage to Carol and John in American Graffiti, which is George Lucas's first movie. So if you go back and watch American Graffiti, I guess they joke about the shifter knob in the hot rod car, and maybe a piece comes off, or that sort of thing. So I have to go back and watch that. But great job, Doug. If you even came up with that yourself, Doug.
As we've learned tonight.
I'm just kidding, James. It's a good theory. I like it. Okay, so any final thoughts on this episode, or looking ahead, and final vibes before we close this thing out? Jonah Marie, how you feeling as we're approaching the midway point of The Mandalorian? Has it lived up to your hype? Is it better, worse? Where are you at?
I'm very happy with what we've gotten. I mean, cool. Yeah, I completely understand that some things need to be improved, especially in terms of the presence of women. That's been lacking. But otherwise, I've been a complete fan, and it's exceeded my expectations.
Excellent. Yeah, I think once Carano gets in there, Ming-Na Wen, and they start kicking butt, that'll make a lot of people happy for sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay, James, now that you and I have kind of been going this way with the episodes, are you optimistic that maybe you're going to tick your way up into an 8.5er as we're heading up, maybe a 12? How you vibing as we're moving forward here?
I definitely, from the get-go, we're like, well, that was a good first episode. There's definitely going to be lulls in the season, but I think overall it's going to have the upward trajectory. So, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm glad I started, like it's a 5 or whatever.
Right.
I'm not thinking about you. But no, I do think that the show is going to probably pack a punch at the end of it, So we'll all be like really satisfied with how the first season.
Nice. Lacey, how you vibing?
I love this show as per my scores. But I admittedly, from the moment they announced this, I'm waiting for Gina Carano to show up. She's my favorite part of the show. I'm so excited to see her in
already.
The show. And it doesn't matter
Where's your
what
scope
she
gore
does.
when they add Bill Burr and Gina Carano?
Oh my God, Bill Burr and Gina Carano. They're like my two favorite things that I've been waiting for. I agree and understand why people are a little annoyed because there hasn't been any presence of, women besides the person that makes the armor. Mm-hmm. But I really think Gina Carano is going to kill it. And I know Ming-Na Wen is because she does amazing in everything. So I'm just excited for Gina to show up. And I feel like Bill's going to have a really small part because I think he's going to be like the snarky guy that tries to kill the Mandalorian and then he's going to die. But someone had said to me that his name is something ridiculous, like Mies Undies or something like that is Bill Burr's character's name. Like it's something ridiculous. So I'm interested to see what his actual name is. But it's just so cool. This is really, really fun. And I look forward to having something new to watch every week.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So that kind of brings us to the end here. Obviously, we're going to be back here next week. We're going to be joined by Alex and Molly from Star Wars Explained to talk about Chapter 4. So we'll see what happens there. But Joan and Marie, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Yay!
Thank you. Really, your lore and your tie-ins to Rebels, I learned stuff, so I really appreciate you coming on. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Thank you so much. I had a blast.
Okay, now you have, if you want to plug stuff, so where are you on Twitter? Even though everyone probably already knows where you are.
Yes.
So on Twitter, I'm at Blue J Guys, and J Guys refers to that symbol that's on Rex's helmet. And so you can find me there. You can also find my writings at radicalgrid.com. I also podcast with my mom on the Geeky Bubble podcast. And I also have a little separate series with my friend Jeremy where we talk about The Mandalorian.
Oh, very cool.
It's called Beskar Pod.
Nice.
Beskar Pod. Now, do you sleep at all? Or?
I don't. And that's becoming a problem.
Right. Well, I have a giant porg full of coffee, so I understand completely. All right. Lacey, where can people find you besides on TRB and on the Mando Fan Show and guest spots on other pods and all that other stuff?
People can find me freaking out about Gina Carano and Bill Burr at Lacey Gilleran on Twitter and Instagram.
It's all true.
Right on.
It's all true.
Right. All of it. James?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks.
All right. And guys, make sure you're going to Star Wars News Net every day for your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. Every time we post an episode of the Mando Fan Show, which you can also find on Star Wars News Net, we also have written reviews by the staff. Kyle Larson did the written review for this chapter that we covered today. the Sin. So check out his written review and see if he gave a different take than ours. See if he maybe rated it lower than Lacey's 14.5 that she gave.
Imagine when Bill Burr's here. 25.
25. And you guys can also find us when the base is open on the Resistance broadcast, obviously every Monday and Thursday. If you're just finding us via the Mando Fan Show, we do podcast about Star Wars in general twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. So subscribe and check us out there. I want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. Literally the reason why this video exists and that we can take the time to do it and all of that is because of your support. So we want to thank you all very much for that, especially our generals who I am going to miss you on this upcoming Monday, so I'm going to make sure I get you guys right here. CARMELO, Brian Shalito, Andrew Staley, Neil Lowry, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, John RISI, J.G. Kars, Seth Keim, and Val Trichkoff. Thank you very much for all your support. As I said, next Friday, Chapter 4, Episode 4 of the Mando Fan Show, we're going to have Alex and Molly Damon on from Star Wars Explained to nerd out with us about that. And just like we learned stuff from Jonah Marie today, we're going to learn a lot from Star Wars Explained, I'm sure, next week as well. So thanks for watching, listening, being Mando Fandos. Keep using that hashtag Mando Fando. And we will see you next Friday. Talk about Chapter 4. So we'll see you around, kids.